Hi, Danny.
Hey, Sage.
How are you?
Oh, how are you? I'm so used to
Great
asking you
mind.
how you are.
I beat you to it this time.
What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about, this is kind of a heavy one, I'm not going to lie.
Right.
I was sitting down and researching this, and I think I had steam coming out of my ears. So we're going to be talking about the finders today. Shout out to my good friend Jordan, who mentioned this guy, and then I started looking into it, and I was like, okay, I have to do it. We have to do this for the podcast. This shit's crazy.
Yay, thanks, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. All right, so should I just jump into it? Do you want to chit-chat a little bit? How's your day? What's going on?
Oh, it was good. I went out with my friend this morning, and
Sweet.
now I'm back home.
Yeah, I made pancakes this morning.
Nice.
I said to my sisters, do you want some? And they said, yes, we're hungry. And so I said, okay, great. And I made a double batch. And then I make the pancakes and I give them one as I'm making them. And then they say, okay, we're done. So I have about 15 pancakes sitting in my kitchen that I'm not going to eat.
Nice.
So wish me luck with that.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe, after this, I think I'll have worked up hunger. So
Nice. Hanger.
it'll be good for me to have. Hanger, yes. I'll have hanger.
Lots of hanger worked up.
Yes. All right. Well, I think I'm just going to jump right into it. So basically, we're going to be talking about the finders, which is essentially that there's a group called the Finders that traffics drugs, has child ritual sexual abuse, and global murder. And the conspiracy is that the CIA is helping cover their tracks.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah. That's a lot. That's like a 3-part, because that's a lot of information. So I'm mainly focusing on the declassification. That's it. They released documents detailing an investigation into the Finders. So I'm just mostly going to go over that guy, which more than anything focuses on the children aspect of this, because otherwise we'd be here for the next 6 years. So that's what we're doing today.
Fair enough.
So in October of 2019, so just coming up on a year ago now, as it is, of course, September 2020, the FBI released documents dealing an investigation into Finders. So there were child abuse allegations brought to the attention of the FBI after tips to the Department of Justice, including a congressman. So this is all in the declassified document, which is actually originally from 1993. So this is not like a new thing this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just finally being out to the public this year. So during a search for information related, of course, to the case, a reference was found in an FBI file about 2 men in Tallahassee, Florida, who had been found with 6 children who were playing in a park. And they were displaying obvious signs of neglect. They were filthy. They were starving. Okay. So the men, when they were questioned about why they had these 6 kids, because they were, essentially the FBI was tipped off that there was a weird situation going on with these 2 men and a bunch of children. The men in question could not provide any proof of custody and would not give any information as to the identity of the children or of themselves. So basically they're like, we have them. And the FBI are like, prove it. And they're like, nope, I will not.
All right.
And they're like, okay, so who are you then? Nope, not that either. So these 2 men were eventually arrested after it was essentially determined that these were not their kids. And an investigation from the Tallahassee officers contacted their local customs office, in their investigation, who then relayed the info that they got to the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington. And they were able to, the Metropolitan Police Department was able to provide details about a person whose name is redacted, which is a big thing with this case, is that they did release all of these files, but so much of it is redacted. It's really difficult to read because every other word is not. It's just not there.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
For those of you who are illiterate like me, what does redacted mean?
Oh my god. Sorry about that.
That's
so
a big
essentially,
word.
yes. It's an important word for this one too. So yes, thank you for asking. But essentially, redacted is in a police report or really in anything. Say, I don't know, I'm filing a report about you, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, I found Danica Shaw shoplifting nail polish from Walmart. And we filled out a police report. There's a few reasons that your name can be redacted, whether it can be because you're a minor.
Mm-hmm.
It can be because an NDA is signed, so a non-disclosure agreement, so anything like that. And so they can redact your name, which means they will take your name out of all the police files. So rather than it saying, I found Danica Shaw shoplifting.
Jane Doe.
Well, it'll just say redacted. It's just blacked out.
Okay,
Yeah, so it doesn't say anything. Most of the time, it'll either in brackets say redacted, or it'll just be blacked out.
Okay.
So, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, good question. Totally. It's a hard one. It is a big word. But anyways, so where were we? I was talking about okay, so Tallahassee officers contact Customs Office, and then the Customs Office contacted Metropolitan Police Department in Washington, and they were able to provide details about a person, name redacted, and their association with a group of people known as Finders, based in Washington, D.C. The Metropolitan Police had previously gotten info from a confidential source that the Finders were brainwashing children, essentially. This source also reported children being used in rituals by the group, but did not witness the child abuse firsthand. So this person is saying, this is what's happening. No, I did not see it firsthand, but I know that that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another important thing. Sorry for the loudness. I'm just flipping my page. That's another thing that's important to note in this whole case is that almost everything is, while all of these stories are matching up and the information is really similar, there's not really any concrete proof of any of it. And we'll kind of get into that why as well. Because there's just so many like police reports and FBI reports that are just completely conflicting.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into that later, of course. So February 5th and 6th, 1987, police, after looking into the Finders more and more, are able to execute search warrants for 2 properties that have been found to belong to groups of the Finders, or people in the Finders group, I suppose. These 2 properties being one home and one warehouse. So during the search of these 2 properties, the home and the warehouse, the USCS, who are the United States Customs Service, one of the officers there claimed to have observed a substantial amount of documents and computer equipment containing instructions for obtaining children, with the purpose unspecified. These instructions allegedly included impregnation of female members of the community, purchasing, trading, and kidnapping children. Yes. In these documents, FBI disclosed that someone has alleged that the Finders are involved in a well-executed child abuse scheme, and that, name redacted, in conjunction with the State Department and FBI's Foreign Counterintelligence Section, conspired to cover up these abuses. So basically, that's a lot of words, but they're saying that somebody is saying that that same name from before that was redacted, which again, we don't know, is working with the State Department and the FBI's Foreign Counterintelligence Section to cover up this so that no one knows what's happening. In March 9th, 1987, there was a memo to the FBI Washington Field Office stating that no evidence of child sexual exploitation, kidnapping, or any related crimes was found in the previous searches. And this is where it comes to those kind of opposite reports, because controversially, a report from the Washington field office indicated the search uncovered large amounts of documents dealing with child rearing and shaping, along with manuals for master plans and dirty tricks for enemies of the group. So I've done a lot of research into this, and it's another thing is it's hard to find information on this, and even more difficult, credible information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Kind of like the Wayfair thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So the main reason that this is so interesting to me is because on the one hand, a memo from the Washington field office, the FBI, is saying there's no evidence of any child exploitation, kidnapping, sexual or otherwise, anything like that. There's none of that.
Mm-hmm.
However, another report from the Washington field office says that they uncovered large amounts of documents dealing with child rearing and shaping. So, two different reports, same place, saying exact opposite things.
Yeah.
Okay. And those you can find online. During our post where we show you guys some photos and stuff that are related, I'll link the, because you can find the FBI report right on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I'll link that. So yes, that to me is very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So now a third search done on a rural Virginia farm, executed by the Virginia Police Department, which of course this residence was uncovered during the investigation, talking to people in and around who are involved.
Mm-hmm.
And during the search, they uncovered evidence of a satanic cult or ritual documents, stating that there were cages found around the farm.
Oh, not nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And witnesses revealed that they were used to hold children during the visits to the farm. So witnesses being neighbors. And also people who were either previously in the cult or family members. And by cult, of course, I'm talking about the finders.
Mm-hmm.
And so later somebody, again, name redacted, advised that all reports regarding the finders be classified at secret level. Name redacted also advised that no information be turned over to the FBI WFO, which is the Washington field office, for investigation, and that the WFO not be advised of the redacted name, involvement / contact in the case. So whoever this name redacted person is up to their fucking neck in this stuff.
Yeah.
And it seems to me, I mean, I could be wrong, but it seems to me that they're the ringleader. They're the really important one in this case. It's interesting to me that out of all the names that are in this case and in these documents,
mm-hmm.
it seems to me that the most important name is the one that's redacted.
Yeah.
Yeah. The children found in Tallahassee, so the 1993 case that we were just talking about, were eventually turned over to those who were determined to be their guardians.
Oh, good. Okay.
There was no further Metro Police Department, FBI, or Customs involvement in this.
Oh, not good.
Yeah. As far as we know, no details of, name redacted, involvement became public at any time. The FBI allegedly spoke to the chief of the Tallahassee Police Department on November 16th, 1993, and were told that all available evidence was either to be returned to its owners or destroyed. No outside agency tried to influence his department investigation, he said, as well. So he's saying all of this evidence about all of this finder's stuff, all of these children, we're either going to burn it in a fire or we're giving it back to who we took it from. And he also said, nope, no one else, nothing influenced my decision to do this. Which, I mean, if you're defending yourself saying, no one tried to influence us when no one's asking, it's a little sus.
Yeah.
It's a little fishy. It makes me think that maybe someone is influencing.
Yeah.
After this, a joint investigation by the Metro Police Department and FBI's Washington field office identified the mothers of the 6 kids, the 1993 ones found in Florida, as well as 2 of the fathers and several other key members of the finders. So these are the guardians that they ended up turning over these kids to. So everyone interviewed claimed that our group consists of an alternative communal type lifestyle made up of intellectuals who have chosen to live the way we do.
Yes.
This is an interesting statement. I wrote in my
Yes.
notes, it says, bruh, what?
This sounds like
Well, it's-
Midsummer.
Well, it's just
Sounds
like,
exactly like Midsummer.
what this sounds like to me is, well, our group of people, we're just, we live life the way we choose to live. And that's it. What does that mean?
Fine.
But like everyone, what are you trying to say here? Why are you defending yourself saying we live the way we choose to, everyone lives the way they choose to live? Like, that's just such an odd statement to me, especially when they're facing, allegations of child abuse.
Yeah, you know what? We live the way we live.
Literally.
Child abuse included.
Yes. So
no.
that's just, it's an interesting statement to me. But so both mothers were aware that their children were being taken to Florida.
Okay.
And one of the finders that were found mentioned that that their group was formed in 1972 with the idea of responding to people in emergencies. The group allegedly gathered info for people or companies. So that was the
PIs?
original. That's essentially yes.
You're just like a cult of private investigators.
Literally, I think what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is also in our documents and during these interviews, there's a person that is described as mysterious and that people rarely knew where they were, according to a 1987 interview. The name of this person is, surprise, surprise, redacted.
All right.
So, yeah. All group members interviewed stated repeatedly that no one in their group engaged in sex with children, that there was no ritualized abuse, and that Finders is not a satanic cult.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, that all children involved were children of mothers in the group.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting because you'll see in a few minutes, I actually have someone saying also the exact opposite.
Oh.
So, yeah. So I have some information that I've gathered essentially from people who were members of the Finders and who no longer are, or family members of people who are in this. So according to the declassified documents, 21 former Finders were interviewed. The general consensus is that from these former members is that Finders began as an alternative lifestyle in the 60s and slowly morphed into a quasi-military order under the direct supervision of redacted. Yes. So many former members stated they feared retribution from the Finders organization. One former female member needed police intervention to stop harassment from the Finders, and another member was involved in a fire as means of retribution. And family members of the Finders have stated that, name redacted, had brainwashed their children and had prevented any contact with their grandchildren.
Jesus.
Yeah. So Finders members would prevent families from contacting people in the group through blackmail. And this blackmail also is specifically describing explicit sex acts and including photographs.
So
and
saying they were blackmailing the people who
The
were
family
part
members.
of the Finders, or the people, like the family members of people
The
who
family members.
God.
So say I'm in the Finders. Okay, my dad's trying to get a hold of me and wants to talk to me, wants to do whatever.
They're blackmailing your dad.
Name redacted, is blackmailing my father so that they leave us alone. And the Finders, even at one point, as a different form of, I don't know, is this blackmail? I don't know, but they attempted to take over a family residence and push an elderly woman out of her home.
No.
Yeah, just so they'd leave her alone, or so she'd leave them alone.
Oh, that is absolutely blackmail.
Yes.
My grandma.
So,
God.
no, grandmama. So I'm gonna take us back a little bit, back to the found children from Florida, the ones in 1993, the 6 kids who were found with 2 adults that no one knows about. or knows where they got them. And after they were found in Florida, the kids were interviewed by the police. The children told the Tallahassee police officers that they were on their way to a smart school in Mexico and were unable to give any info about their parents, whereabouts of their parents, who their parents were, anything like that. They couldn't say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The children were all extremely hungry, and they ended up peeing and pooping all over the floor during their interviews. They talked about other kids in Washington and said that they were under the control of who they called the game caller, who, surprise, name is redacted. The kids were allegedly being weaned from their mothers and didn't go to school. When asked, the children said that men taught them games and how to read. The games included taking shirts with holes in them and tearing them up. They often were told to do things in return for rewards. So, the kid who rips the shirt up the fastest gets a reward. Two of the 6 children who were interviewed described a time around Christmas when a woman had come downstairs naked. They thought it was funny and part of the game.
Oh, God.
And according to Tallahassee witnesses, there were often vans of children brought to the search residence, and they were often crying, shouting, making a big ruckus, not wanting to go in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's most of the information I have. I also have a little bit, we're going to post a photo. One of the properties, because the finders didn't just have the 2 or 3, they had many, many properties. But these are just the ones that I could really get any sort of credible information about. Mm-hmm. Next, I'm going to tell you guys about a preschool that the finders owned, essentially, because the finders did have many, many properties. They didn't just have the 2 or 3 that I've been talking about today. These are just the main ones that I could actually find solid, credible evidence to support. So I'm going to post a photo of the floor plan of the preschool here that I'm describing. So the preschool is being operated by the finders and was investigated and found to be accessed through a underground tunnel system. So essentially you could get anywhere in this preschool through underground tunnels. You didn't have to go in or out through the front door. Okay?
That's fucking weird.
Yeah. And the preschool had an internal fire system that was not connected to the fire station and had switches to turn them on and off in every classroom. And there was found to be a classroom with only a deadbolt. No doorknob.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So that's honestly most of it. I have also... It's been very, very difficult to find any hints towards who name redacted could be. Mm-hmm. But the one person I did keep seeing over and over again, we're going to get into in a minute here. But basically what all of this information is saying, I know it's a lot of, things here and things there, and it's not really creating a super huge narrative. But that's honestly what the police files look like if you look at them. Mm-hmm. It's just all of these different pieces of information coming together, and we have to kind of take from that what we think is happening.
Yeah.
And so what it sounds like to me is a lot of brainwashing, a lot of conditioning children.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just watched a movie. I don't know if you've seen it or heard of it. It's on Netflix. It's called One BR, or One Bedroom. Mm-hmm. And that's a really, really interesting movie, and I feel like there's some parallels, because essentially in this movie what it is a young girl moves into this apartment complex. Mm-hmm. And she thinks that everything's great, and she's just moved out and found some new friends, but it turns out that the people in this apartment actually are going to end up conditioning her to be completely brainwashed and in love with this community, where, on the surface it sounds great, because it's all about helping your neighbors. Mm-hmm. And putting other people first and not being selfish and stuff like that. But they use MK Ultra brainwashing techniques. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm thinking is similar. So in this show, essentially what they do is they have you put your hands on a wall in an uncomfortable position to hold you up, and you just have to stay there as long as the music's playing, and when the music isn't playing, you can relax. And if they come in and you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing, they punish you.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the punishments in this show, sorry, spoiler alert, it doesn't actually ruin anything. It's just, you'll know what's happening ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, our main character, she is been doing this for a few days and she's exhausted. And so eventually she falls to the floor from exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
And they come in and they say, get up and continue. And she says, I can't do it anymore. Like, I can't. I'm too tired. So they make her stand up, and they nail her hands to the wall right through her palms.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, pretty hardcore, but that shit works. And I wouldn't be surprised, because as we know, if you look at all into MKUltra, that's essentially what they do to brainwash their people.
Mm-hmm.
They use other things, but lots of noise, lots of lack of sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and pain. And so I'm thinking that that's what they were doing with these kids.
I actually, I could be wrong, but I know for sure there's a documentary on, it's like an hour and 10-minute documentary on it. Prime Video, I think. It's actually called The Finders. I haven't watched it.
Yes, yeah.
And then there's another one on Netflix that's but it's from 94.
Yes.
Children of God.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if the Children of God one is about the Finders, but I think it's like similar, like it's like a documentary that's like kind of similar to like what's going on here. But I know that the Finders, it's from 2016, and that is a documentary about this.
Yeah, there are quite a few books and documentaries about this for sure. That's correct. And yeah, you can find The Finders is on, like you said, Prime.
Yeah. And Children of God
I just
is
looked it up.
actually on Canadian Netflix. So
Finally,
guys, don't worry. You can watch it.
However, Children of God is a separate thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's also a really interesting one, because Children of God is actually the cult that Joaquin Phoenix was part of, and same with Rose McGowan.
Yes. Okay, I'll edit this out.
Yeah.
Yes.
So no,
It just popped into my head. I forgot about that.
Yeah. No. Totally. That would actually be a cool. That would be a good review.
Yeah.
I think. So that's basically the information I have. Now I'm going to kind of head into my theory of maybe who the leader of the Finders is.
Okay.
Or at least someone who is quite high up in there. So Danica,
Yes.
or Danny, sorry.
How dare you?
Have you heard of a man named Dan Schneider?
The name rings a bell, but I don't know where from.
Okay, so many of you at home might not know him by name, but I guarantee you know him. So Dan Schneider is the creator / producer of several kind of children's teenager TV shows,
Where are they?
such as, but not limited to, Victorious.
Oh, yes. Yep. Fucking Nickelodeon.
Yep. iCarly, Zoe 101, Drake and Josh, The Amanda Bynes Show. Or I guess just The Amanda Show. So he is creator and producer. So Victorious was running from 2010 to 2013. iCarly was 2007 to 2012. Zoe 101, 2005 to 2008. Drake and Josh, 2004 to 2007. And then The Amanda Bynes Show, 1999 to 2001. Okay, so he's essentially been working with children solidly from 1999 all the way until 2013 on some of his most popular shows.
Jesus. It's like almost 15 years.
Yes. Yeah. However, he was only recently let go from Nickelodeon. So we'll get into that as well. I'm going to start with, basically, I went into Dan Schneider's his website, which I believe is just danschneider.com. So if you want to check it out, it's there. But just something kind of interesting is that when you go onto his website, the About section of the website is just a direct Wikipedia link. Same with his Known For section is just a direct IMDb link. So there's no actual information on the site.
Wikipedia.
Yeah.
The most credible.
Right? Also, yeah. So I just thought that was really interesting, because normally if you look up like the Britney Spears website or the fucking Orlando Bloom website, right? It's going to actually give you information on the site without taking you to other places. Not this one. It just takes you directly to other places.
All right.
Okay. So Dan Schneider, also interesting to know, is married to a woman named Lisa Lillian, who is known as Hungry Girl. She's a cook.
Right.
And they've been married since, I think it's 2001 they got married? 2002, sorry. So they've been married since 2002. So just not super relevant, but just important backstory. Okay. So Dan Schneider received a $7 million payout when he was let go from Nickelodeon following allegations of inappropriate contact with young female stars. Okay, he was also credited with discovering Ariana Grande, Amanda Bynes, Jamie Lynn Spears, and Victoria Justice. So allegedly, there is also a photo of a naked young child star who is thought to be Madeline Martin, who's the daughter in Californication, if you don't know who she is, sitting on his lap and kissing his cheek. There's been lots and lots of stories of just odd things that he's done with his young female stars, such as that with Ariana Grande, and again with Ariana Grande. It's either a picture or a video.
This says it was a video. It said Dan Schneider.
Schneider.
Dan Schneider found his opportunity to film Ariana Grande while her skirt was up and her boobs were showing. It also talks about Elizabeth Gillies.
Well, there's another one too. Picture or video. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but of Ariana Grande basically in a very, very revealing outfit, doing the fucking flash dance, water pouring all over her.
And she's a
just
child.
Interesting. She literally, especially in her Sam and Cat days, how old was she?
I don't know.
16 maybe?
Maybe.
And Dan Schneider, just so everyone knows, was born in 1966. So he's 54 right now. Okay? So he's old. He's too old for that shit. So another thing interesting and a reason that he was kind of canceled from Nickelodeon is that he does so much feet stuff.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So
Didn't we talk about that in
feet stuff.
Was it the Wayfair episode?
Yeah, I think we mentioned it.
She's like sucking on her toes. And...
In iCarly, there's an episode where the entire episode is centered around the fact that I think Carly got her toe stuck in a faucet. There's episodes where they like draw people
sucking
in their feet toes.
And, like, use
they
their
draw
feet
people
to talk and
totally. He also on his Twitter he has posted tweets of someone's foot and said, "This is one of my star's feet. Who can tell me whose toe this is?"
Also, nothing wrong if you have an actual foot fetish. Just don't have a child foot fetish, please.
Yes, I was gonna say that's also if you love feet. I love that for you. Good for you. That's a happy time.
Adult feet.
However, leave children alone. Exactly. That's where the issue is. He also at one point as a promo for a new iCarly episode, he put out to the internet. He tweeted, "Send pictures of your feet with things drawn on them, and we will retweet them until our."
I remember that. Oh my god! I wanted to do it so bad. I do remember that.
Oh my god, Danny, you almost...
I wanted to do all the stupid Nickelodeon shit where it was if you dance and do this stupid dance, we'll put you on YTV. And I'd be like, yes!
Yeah. This is my time.
Never did it, so thank God.
Thank God. Yeah. But yeah, and that's exactly how old were you when that was happening, Danny?
God, I want to say probably 13 or 14. I was pretty, 12 or 13 even. Yeah. I was pretty young.
Mm-hmm. The people who are following Nickelodeon and Sam and Cat on Twitter and iCarly on Twitter.
They're young.
These are children we're talking about. This is not 25-year-old, I can make my own decision adults. These are
also
13-year-olds.
Ariana was 16 and 17 when she was filming Sam and Cat.
Yeah. So concerning to say the least.
Underage.
So yeah, like we said, nothing wrong with foot fetishes, but kids are off limits, man. And then he also, this is not really substantiated by anything other than the victim's claim, but allegedly Dan Schneider paid an extra from the Amanda Show $100 to tickle her feet. So,
for him to tickle her feet?
Yeah. Yeah, he basically was like, "Are you ticklish?" And she was like, "No." And he's like, I bet I can tickle you." And she's like, "All right."
What an odd
And
thing
so
to say.
right?
God.
And he fucking took off her socks and shoes, and started tickling her feet, and then offered her $100 to go back into his office and basically gave her a foot rub.
What the fuck? And I mean, like,
So,
if you're, I mean, I don't know how old the extra was, but like, you've already talked about this. If you're a kid, you don't fucking see anything wrong with that. You
right?
don't know.
Yeah.
Like they.
Well, yeah, because you're taught from a young age, like, yeah, sure, don't talk to strangers, but this man is not a stranger. You are taught to respect your elders,
He's your boss.
do what you're said. Yeah, and he's your boss, and you're a young child, and you are already in this crazy industry where you are made to really not to feel like you're not, all that great. Everything you're just trying to get, prettier, skinnier, this, that, So, well, when I mean, and I'm not saying this is the case for all children, in the industry, but most of the time, I'm gonna say some of the time, children in the industry, it's their parents who are really pushing them to do it. And so, if your parents are pushing you to do this and telling you that you need to do this and you need to listen, and you need to stand out, and you need to do whatever it takes, maybe they don't mean
like literally do whatever it takes, but
like maybe they don't mean that, but most of the time they're not thinking that, right? And so you hear do whatever it takes, and then this big time producer who discovered Amanda Bynes and did this and did that wants to take you to his office and tickle your feet. You're not going to say no,
because you want to be the next
especially if he's offering to give you $100. Exactly, you're not going to say no. You're a child. So yeah, but that's Dan Schneider. He doesn't work for Nickelodeon anymore. As I mentioned, he was let go, paid $7 million, by the way. And now he's just living his best life. Also, something interesting, I don't know if anyone remembers this, but the Nickelodeon logo used to be a big orange foot.
Was it?
Yeah, it used to be a big orange foot. We'll post a picture of it. Now I think it's just like a paint splat. Yeah, but before that it was a foot. So I remember it being a foot, but yeah. So that's Dan Schneider, and basically he is the only name that I can find that comes up more than a few times in relation to the finders.
Gross.
So I don't know if he's the leader. I don't know if he's just someone who is really supportive in it. Something important to note is that the finders were discovered in the 60s, and he was born in 66. So So I'm not saying that he is the person who founded the finders.
Well, he would have been 6.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he would have been 0.
Maybe he was born.
He was born 66.
Yeah, but maybe he was born into the finders. Like maybe he was one of the kids.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I feel like maybe that is definitely a possibility, because that's the only name that we can find that actually goes into this at all.
Jesus.
So that's the finders, and the conspiracy in this is that it's being covered up, and that I think is kind of substantiated when we look at the totally conflicting reports that we're getting from the FBI and the Washington field office and this and that, where on the one side it says there's no evidence of any harm to children, and then on the other hand we found cages on the farm.
Yeah, what the fuck?
And hearing some members say no, we would never, we're just an alternative lifestyle, we just like to live this way, and then their family members saying they're blackmailing me with sexually explicit things so that I can't contact my family. So it's just kind of another one of those things for me where I'm like, we know trafficking exists, we know cults exist, we know we've heard of pedowood, pedophile Hollywood, like that's also that's just
is it a forest of pedophiles? My God,
that sounds like an awful place, but that's basically what Hollywood is. So like these are all things that we know. These are all things that are objective. These are not secrets. So I feel like this isn't too far of a stretch.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
I mean, like, there's not a lot of... The hard part about it is there's not a lot of concrete information. But a lot of things from different sources line up, which I think is a big coincidence, but I don't know. I'd love to hear what you think about it, Danny. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, we know that cults exist. We know that sex trafficking exists. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't new. Like, this has
Mm-hmm.
been going on
Mm-hmm.
forever. Like, yeah, it's just so crazy to me. Like, just the human brain, like, how easily, literally just brainwashed people can get. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that to
Mm-hmm.
me just, like, blows my mind. Like,
Totally.
yeah, that's heavy. That's,
Right? It's a heavy one.
yeah.
It's a heavy one. It's not funny. We're not I don't think this is going to be any sort of comedy
No.
in this episode. I think I'm just take away from the story, fucking protect your kids,
Yeah.
man. Like kids are so vulnerable.
Well, and like, look how easy it is to like brainwash like adults in cults, and like,
Right?
you don't even have
Right?
to be like a vulnerable person, you know, like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and like half the time, like you don't even know that it's going on, you
Yeah.
know,
Totally.
like,
Well, it's just the same. I would say it's similar to being in an abusive
yeah,
relationship.
oh, totally,
Things never you never start an abusive relationship with
seeing everything through rose-colored glasses.
that's always you always start and they're really awesome
Yeah.
and they make you feel good about yourself and then slowly they mix in the abusive behavior so that you're brainwashed, so you either think you deserve it or you think, well, they're doing this because they love me or
Yeah.
whatever. It's the same thing to me.
Yeah, no, totally.
Because like they said, former members, they say it just started off as a really nice alternative lifestyle and over the years it morphed into
Yeah.
something else entirely.
Well, and the thing is too is like, if you have like an ideal lifestyle that you want, whether it be like, I don't know, like living out in the middle of nowhere in like a lovely cottage, or like just living off the land and doing that, like, it's that those, like, as a cult, and if they have resources, that is so easily done for you. Like, if they can, like, that is so easily done. Like, they could just be like, yeah, like, we have these amazing cottages. They are shared because you don't have to pay to live here, but we also all, like, we have a farm and all this stuff, and people be like, wow, that's amazing, that's so nice, that sounds lovely. And then, like, next thing you know, you bond with these people, you build relationships, and like, I mean, like, I'm not comparing like toxic friendships to a cult, but like, you can, like, honestly be honest with yourself. Like, almost everybody has had a fucking toxic friendship.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
almost everybody. And like, did you realize at the beginning that it was toxic? No, you were probably friends with
No.
that person for years, and it took you
Before,
like, either finding a new friend who's not a total fucking like asshole and a total psycho to realize, wait, this is what friendship is. Like, so it's like, even just look at it from that perspective. Like, I know a lot of people are like, well, like, how could they do that? Like, how could they allow themselves to, like, well, fuck, you've probably done it at one point too, just not at that scale.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I agree. And a lot of the time too with cults, it's exactly, you start off, they're like, this beautiful, we work together, and we don't care about money, and it's not about this constant grind just to survive, and it's about enjoying your life and having a community and looking out for each other. And then as you're there, normally you start off, you just get to be there and enjoy the life.
Yeah.
And then as you're there longer, you get more and more responsibilities. And so you're feeling like you're being accepted and you're really becoming a part of this community. And so they start off with little things like, well, your responsibility is going to be to cook dinner on Sundays for the family.
Help all these other people cook dinner.
Exactly. And then from there, they just take one step higher each time. So maybe, in the next couple of months, now your job is to take care of the animals that you guys slaughter to eat. And then maybe in the next couple of months, now your responsibility is to actually be the one slaughtering the meat. And then maybe next, you take the next step where your job is to carry out the punishments for when children aren't listening. And it starts off just as timeout. And then the next time, you have to slap them because they're still not, it's
very gradual.
Definitely, it's steps and steps.
Amazing example of this. I already talked about it earlier. It is Midsummer. Like, she was super fucking vulnerable at a really shitty time in her life, and that was taken to
the main character
yeah.
we're speaking of course.
That was taken to the full advantage of the people who were a part of that ranch.
And then it gets to a point too where, you're taking these half steps and then suddenly, you don't even think twice about it, but you've done something now that you are incriminated in this. You've done something wrong. You've done something that you feel like you can't go out and get help for.
Or even you were there. And, like, that's the thing. It's like, if you were there and then they could turn around and be like, yeah, well, you're an accessory to murder. You'd be like, but I was just there. Yeah, and then you didn't do anything about it. And did you call 911?
Yeah.
No.
It's like, yeah, you think that the police are going to believe you that you just were there and you didn't call the police right away? That's where it gets. That's when things get scary. Yeah. Yes, totally. And so I don't know. I just think people need a little bit more compassion in those situations, because most of the time they're vulnerable, they're lonely, they don't have other family. Maybe they don't have a good relationship with the family they do have. And yeah, so that all being said, protect your fucking children. Yes. Sorry, that's my hard line. Protect your children.
Children first.
Yes, truly. So yeah, that's the Finders. That's just to really scratch the surface of one portion of it, because there is so much to it. Let me know if you guys want me to dive in deeper and do more into that guy, if you find this interesting, or not that guy, I guess that group. So yeah, I think that's about it for us, you guys.
I also think that this would be a good one to revisit, because as you guys know, we are doing seasons, and we were thinking of doing a season just on different cults. So this would be a good one to dive into, like, completely, I think, for when we do cults. So
yeah, maybe like a 2-part episode, maybe. Yeah. Let us know what you guys think, and if you listen to this and you're like, that was fun, but I don't really, it's whatever. Let us know. Yeah, that's fine too. So yeah, thank you, and I just want to take a minute to say thank you so much for the support we've gotten so far. When we're recording this, we only have a few episodes up by now, but the feedback from our friends that we've gotten and just the support is just really wonderful, and I feel very, very grateful for all of you. So thank you so much for tuning in.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
that being said, make sure you follow us. On Instagram, we are Silence of the Hags.
We didn't do it at the beginning.
Well, we're doing it now, guys.
We're Silence of the Hags, and we're your hags.
Oh my god, we're your hags! Oh, I'm so embarrassed.
One day we'll get it. One day.
Yeah, well, it'll be, but you're getting it now, so that's the best you get. I was just too excited, or not excited, but I was too anxious to get into the Finders. But yeah, so follow us on Instagram. Follow us. That's all. Do you guys want us to get a Twitter? Let us know if you want us to get a Twitter. I was thinking about starting one. You can listen to us, of course, on whatever platform you're listening to currently, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We also have YouTube. Silence of the Hags for everything. Nice and easy. You can also, if you have ideas, or if you have, corrections for us, if I've gotten anything wrong, anything like that, you can always shoot us an email too. We are silenceofthehags@gmail.com. Everything's spelled just like it sounds. So that's about it. Anything else, Danny? Anything else to close us?
Take a deep breath. Don't let this weigh too heavy on your shoulders for your day. All right, guys. Well.
All right. Thanks so much. All right. Have a wonderful day, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.